So I'll start with one question, guys. Who is already publishing content on social media and is kind of sort of familiar with, content creation, social media marketing? How many of you are doing it? Okay, pretty much everybody. That's good. So any of you, have you been doing it for a while? Is it just like a year, just getting started? I just kind of want to test the waters. All right. So which platforms are you currently on? LinkedIn? Really? Oh, yeah, yeah. I know your industry. Okay, so I've been creating content for nearly 10 years, and I originally started just like Sadiq with network marketing, selling weight loss shakes and selling different products. I've been through multiple different industries, so that was kind of I always call network marketing my springboard into entrepreneurship. Because when I joined, I was 18 years old. I was in high school. I had no idea what was happening, and I didn't know marketing. I'm, Russian, so English is not my first language, and it was very challenging originally starting in content creation, or even understanding what it is and whatnot. And what got me to actually creating content, building a personal brand was the fact that the first company I was with in network marketing, it shut down my account, my parents' account for no reason. And I was like, I don't know, I didn't know how to build a business. I didn't know how to do anything. And then one of my first mentors said one thing: you have to be building a personal brand. You have to be posting content. So I started Googling, what it is. And just like a lot of us, I've Googled how to make money online, how to build a business, how to build a network marketing business. And then I discovered the world of coaching and online businesses. And back in 2013, 2014, there were not a lot of businesses that you could start. You could probably do like eBay, drop shipping. That was very prominent. But that was pretty much it. And then I got involved in an affiliate marketing company, and it was like a Harvard for network marketers. So that was my original exposure to, it was like a buffet. I just saw all the strategies. I was like YouTube, and then there was Facebook and LinkedIn and so many different platforms. I didn't know where to get started. So I just started originally on Facebook until this one woman who was doing a training, she said, now let's set up a Facebook ad. And I was like, I don't have the money. I'm 19 years old. I just graduated from high school. I'm just trying to, understand what she was talking about. Anyway, so I went onto Instagram because that was the free way. There was no videos at the time. We were just posting quotes, and I grew my account to about 11.6 thousand followers. It was in a matter of a couple of months. I wish it was as easy on Instagram these days. So anyway, so that was kind of my original, the origin story, should I say. And then one thing that I was incredibly consistent with once I realized that, you have to be posting content, not just the quotes. Then we started posting videos. My first videos absolutely sucked because it was 15-second little square videos on Instagram. And it was just really hard. I was like, I need to script every single video. I was actually trying to script today's speech as well. I was like, I want to make sure I hit every single point. And then I was like, well, screw the speech, screw all the points. I'll just speak from the heart and share what, my experience has been. And there was one kind of turning point in my, marketing and entrepreneurship career was when my dad told me, well, Jelena, you've been doing this for, over a year now. You have no success. You're spending more money than you're making. You have to figure something out. And then I bought my first marketing course. It was about blogging, how to create content. I was like, if I'm going to create content, I suck at YouTube videos. I suck at Instagram videos. I can't show up on camera. It's too embarrassing. My accent is too hard. My best friend, who's now my best friend, she didn't understand what I was saying back then. So very funny story. And then I was like, I need to learn how to blog. That was going to be my strategy, and that was my first long form strategy because I understood the power of posting a piece of content and then it basically being on Google and people can find me even months later. So that was my original thought. I'm like, oh, I can just plant those little articles, kind of clone myself in a text format because video sucked. And I basically, for the next 6 months, I did 2 90-day challenges where I was blogging for 5 to 7 times a week. like full on articles, no AI, no chat GPT, straight up, me doing my own research, learning and implementing. Now you might be wondering, well, what were you talking about? I was literally learning from my mentors. I was learning how to build a network marketing business. I was learning how to build a personal brand, and I was investing my time and a little bit of money. I was learning what I was investing in. And I was taking a lot of notes. I'm like an absolute note taker. Now I'm kind of doing it more digitally, but back then I was like writing a lot of stuff. And then I was turning those notes into pieces of content. I'm like, okay, so I have all this knowledge, and knowledge is useless unless you actually implement it. You either implement it, you take action, you learn something, and you like learn how to record the video, and you don't just sit on that information. You actually go record the video no matter how hard it is, or you teach it to others. So I was basically teaching whatever I was learning at the time. It was not perfect by any means, but I was like, I'll just get myself out there. And it was also hard because the market I was trying to get into was Americans. And I'm like, why would anybody listen to me? I had all these doubts and thoughts, like, why would anybody listen to a girl with a thick Russian accent who is like barely understanding what she's doing online? But some people early on started following me just because they were curious. They're like, oh, who is this crazy girl from a tiny country in Eastern Europe, in Latvia, who nobody knew where it is. Like some people still don't know where it is. They have to look up on the map. And that was, how I started. So I did those 2 challenges. The first 90 days, I only did articles because I was like, I can't do videos. And then the second 90 days, I started implementing videos as well, which they're still on YouTube. You can look up my name. They're still there. They're very embarrassing, but they're there. I don't. Eventually, I stopped looking like I was a person with a gun pointed to my head because I was like very stiff. Couldn't talk. I had to record sentence by sentence because I couldn't memorize like all these phrases that I had to say. So I looked very robotic, which that's how a lot of us look like in the beginning. But the one thing that really helped me, and there was one book that particularly changed the way I view pretty much everything in life, whether it's fitness, whether it's content creation, whether it's, reaching any kind of goal, you have to be consistent. It doesn't matter whether you do it daily. Now, would I be doing blogs every single day today? Hell no. I don't know how I pulled it off because that was absolutely intense. And that was literally the only thing that I was doing. Besides, the regular network marketing prospecting that I was doing at the time, I was sending 20 to 30 messages every single day on Facebook as well. So that was like my secondary platform. My first platform for content was blogging and YouTube as well. So I kind of did both in combination because I was like, originally I was just writing because it was easy. Then I was like, oh, but I can actually record the video because it was kind of starting to become easier to speak on camera and not be scared of the little, dot in the screen. And then I'm like, oh, I can actually take that video and transcribe it and then turn it into a blog post. It's going to save me so much time. So I think that's how I managed to pull off another 90-day challenge for blogging. And yeah, so I was just consistent for a very long time. And a lot of people noticed that. So literally by the end of those 180 days of blogging, one of should I say, colleagues from a network marketing company, he had a massive blog where he was featuring a lot of people who had any kind of success. And originally I started getting some leads. I was like signing up some customers into my network marketing business. So it was starting to work because I was just putting myself out there. And I was not afraid of, whatever people were going to think. A little bit I was, because when you post on Facebook as somebody who just graduated from high school and all your high school friends are like, who do you think you are? What are you doing here? Because I basically went from posting funny memes in Russian about random stuff to, oh, look at me, I'm a business owner now. So that was quite a change. So yeah, it was still hard, because the thought of at the back of my mind, I was like, maybe I should have gone to college because I haven't. And, all of my friends went to college. Some went to London, some went to, universities in Latvia. And then here I was, me and my laptop, like my best friend, posting all these, little articles and YouTube videos. And the consistency was what something pulled me through to where one of my colleagues noticed me and he was like, oh, you've been putting out so many amazing articles. You've had some initial success. So he featured me in a massive article with huge leaders in the network marketing industry, leaders that I was looking up to, that I was learning from. So I was number 8 MLM blogger. And that was like my first. I was like, wow, I had no idea somebody would even notice what I was doing, because a lot of the times when you publish originally, when you're first starting out, you're like, I don't know if anybody's even watching. And I didn't know anybody was watching because I had like 500 Facebook friends, all from my school, my, from whatever like else I was doing, my personal friends. And then like my audience started growing a little bit more. Then I was like, oh, I already have 1,000 Facebook friends, and half of them are actually business minded that are not going to troll me like my classmates, right? And yeah, so that was the initial journey. And then in 2016, I got certified as a business coach because I started, making some more money. I was finally profiting in my business, which was exciting. I was 21 years old when I got certified. Got to speak on a couple of stages in the United States, and which was way scarier than here. So thanks to you guys for being so friendly. And yeah, so that's been my journey. So one of the things that I do want to talk about is, first of all, the power of consistency. Now, I don't encourage you to blog every single day because that's crazy. Like even daily YouTube videos, that was like another strategy. You just publish every single day. However, if you do want to do that, you will learn a lot through putting out quantity of content in the beginning, because a lot of the people say, oh, you have to post quality content, you have to, make very polished videos. But I'm like, you don't know how to post something quality unless you go with the quantity. Like you have to suck a lot in the beginning before you know, like, oh, okay, so this video did well, so I can double down on more videos of this format. Whether it's like you talking on camera, maybe you're doing a little like video clip of you working, like a B-roll type of clip. So you have to suck in the beginning, post a lot of quantity, and then start focusing on the quality of the videos. And so that was like one thing. And then that's one of the first things. So be consistent, choose your consistency plan, whether it's, 3 times of posts a week on Instagram or LinkedIn. Start posting whatever you're learning, because one of the most common questions that I see in content creation and in business world in general, and I sort of still get surprised. I'm like, why? How do you guys not know what to post? It's like, how do I get ideas? How do you post so much? One is, one of my mentors actually shared this with me early on. He said, if you don't do any kind of personal development, it could be going to events like this, learning from people on YouTube, buying courses. There's just so much free information that you can learn, and then take notes, just like I was doing, and then turn them into pieces of content. So that's always been the easiest. And I remember back when I was in my early 20s, whenever I was stuck with content creation, and I was like, I don't know what to post, I don't know what to speak today on the video, because I definitely had those moments in that 180-day challenge of blogs. I was like, there was a lot of mornings when I woke up and I'm like, I don't know what to talk about, and then I'm like, I either have to go through my notes, or I have to listen to something else, and I have to, get some inspiration elsewhere. And the moment I stopped doing personal development, because there were times I'm like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm not gonna watch a video today, or I'm not gonna read a book today, because I'm so busy with all this stuff going on. Like I have customers that I have to serve now. Then I was, having coaching clients. So once you start having some initial success, you do get busy with stuff. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can even be posting content. It's like, because it does require a lot of energy, a lot of effort. It's content ideation, it's recording the videos, it's planning. Sometimes you have to script the video. If you're making any kind of detailed video, could be like, especially a YouTube video, because YouTube I consider like a full-time job. YouTube is just like, I don't even do a lot of YouTube these days because of how much effort it takes. And the moment I was stopping to do personal development, that's when all my ideas kind of vanished. So I was like, okay, so I do need to invest a little bit of time, every single day, learning something. So that's one way to generate content ideas. The other way is just being conscious of your market and of what people are talking about, whether it's joining Facebook groups. I know it's probably not as popular anymore, Quora forums, any kind of places where there are questions being asked. So you have to be a really good listener if you want to create good quality content, because if you're just talking about whatever you're learning, sure, it works in the beginning, it definitely worked for me, but eventually you have to be conscious of the market that you're in, and you have to, listen, oh, what kind of conversations are happening. So every time I go to an event, even an event like this, if you guys have any questions afterwards and I answer them here, surely I'm gonna, probably gonna make a note in my phone, and then I'm like, okay, so I can do a YouTube video about it, I can do a podcast about it, I can do, an Instagram video about it. So that's another thing. And then one thing that I've started doing early on as well was, at some point when I was growing my audience, then some people started kind of viewing me as that authority, the 19-year-old authority, and I was like, okay, so I was starting to have those very common questions that people were asking. And, like, where do you get ideas? Again, like that very common question. Somebody asked me, how do you record the video? What's your setup like? How do you script your videos? Do you create a content calendar? Do you schedule your content? Do you, how do you write your emails? What tools are you using? So then I was like, okay, so I got tired of getting the same questions, and I started referring people to my blog posts. So all these pieces of content, you don't just post them once and forget about their existence. You actually use them. And whenever I was sending my website in particular to people, they were like, oh, she has a website. And then they could learn everything about me. They could see, what I was doing. Of course, they saw I was a beginner initially, and then like once I started having some success, I was like, okay, let me add a little credibility here, a little credibility there. So I was consistently using my website as a hub, like they call it a real estate online, which is why even if you're not going to be blogging, you can still put a couple of articles, like the key questions that people are asking, and send people there. Because here's something that I've noticed when it comes to building a brand, creating content, creating videos and all that good stuff, is whenever you send people to a YouTube video, they get so distracted. They're like, oh, I have this video, and then there's this cat video, and then there's this fashion video, or like a travel blog, and then they get distracted. So they're probably not going to end up on your website. But and I noticed that, when I sent somebody to my YouTube video, they didn't do anything after that. I'm like, wow, like I need to build my business. I don't just want to share free resources all day long. But when I started referring people to my website, my email list started growing. So my email database of people who, sign up for my newsletter or download one of my like free videos or free gifts, like a free, PDF. And yeah, so I've always been sending people to my website. I still send people to my website, whether, it's like a freebie that I have, like I'm trying to build my email list. I have like a resource. So that's another thing. And so another huge part about content ideation and getting ideas and, kind of getting into that creative zone. I was actually having that conversation, I think, with Emma. Like it's not always easy to be creative because whether it's for yourself or for your clients, because there are some days when you just have the writer's block, the creative block. Again, doing personal development, that always helps. But, obviously the other thing, if I have a client who has a completely different niche, like a baking business or skincare business or whatever, like you have to do like a little bit of market research. And these days it's kind of easy because you can use ChatGPT. You can like go into AI and ask like, hey, tell me more about this industry. Because back in the days, 10 years ago, I used to use Google, and I still do. But you have to figure out a couple of things. Number one, what does the target audience actually want? Because there's usually 2 points that move people. It's either pain or pleasure. So either people want to get rid of a problem that they have, and that's ultimately what all of us entrepreneurs are doing. We're trying to solve a specific problem. And the other thing is, attaining some sort of goal. So if it is, let's say, a skincare client, and maybe it's like a med spa, for example, and they're selling their, I don't know, like an acne treatment or microneedling or whatever it is, right? So how do you create a content to promote that kind of video? You want to first think about whenever that person wants to book a session, like a microneedling session, for example, it's like, what do they actually want? Like they don't want just to get needles inside their skin. They actually want clear skin. And that's kind of the angle that you want to hit. So you want to really understand what do people want when they are about to book a specific service, and what do they not want. And, something that I've been learning a lot, I used to use a lot of pain in my marketing, like, oh, get rid of this problem. But then one of my coaches that I'm learning from right now, she's kind of like discouraging from using any kind of pain. She's like, people are more moved by the pleasure because pain keeps them stuck where they're at. They're just like, oh, I'm so tired of not having clear skin. And then they just kind of like sit there and they're like, I don't know what to do about it. But when they actually have a goal, okay, so I want clear skin, or I want, whatever else, then we start searching like how to have glowy skin, or, how to apply makeup for how to apply makeup for a really oily skin, how to make it last all day. So like those kind of content ideas. And as far as like specific strategies, one hack that I've actually used for years to create content and get a ton of ideas is Pinterest. I feel like a lot of us probably don't use it a lot. What I used to do for my blog specifically, and then for Instagram content and all the other platforms as well, I would go to Pinterest and the good thing about that platform is a lot of people, I'm not sure about these days, but back then, it was all infographics. It was all people posting, those, I called them visual blog posts. And I was like, oh, I can learn so much just from this one little image. And then I was getting some inspiration, taking some notes, and then, putting my own spin on the content. Because at the end of the day, all the content has already been created. Like, it's already there. We just have to infuse our own personality into whatever we're creating. Because, for example, like my good friend Jelena, so we do the same thing. We kind of joke a lot of the times, like we have the same name, same hair color, speak the same language, and people would ask us like, oh, what's the differentiating factor? But like with us, I have one personality, she has a whole different personality, so we're probably going to attract different clients. So that's ultimately what differentiates you, and what's how you're going to stand out amongst everybody else. Because whether you do skincare, whether you're a social media agency, I don't know, like makeup blogger, because there's a million of them, right? But we choose to follow specific people. And I've noticed that I guess even when I was a teenager, I used to follow a lot of those YouTube channels who, these like makeup girls, and they, applied their makeup and did those tutorials, like Michelle Phan. He was like the OG makeup girl. But I didn't follow every single person, because there was only maybe like 2 to 3 women that I followed that I really related to, or they were funny, or there was just something about their personality that made me want to keep watching them and keep, learning from them. So that's ultimately how you stand out. It's actually funny because in my notes, that was one of the first points, and I kind of like skipped over it completely, but I'm really glad that you asked that question. So it really always depends on what you're selling. So if, for example, if you're building a personal brand and you're like an influencer, then you kind of share everything, and ultimately you become your niche, like your personality is your niche. These days, I don't feel like, especially with TikTok, even though it might shut down in the US, like we still have it, like, so yay for us, right? So with that platform especially, I feel like even all the makeup gurus, I don't know, I love makeup, so that's why I keep sticking to that industry. Like, as an example, even when they share their travels, or they share something that they're doing for fun, like there was this girl, she was sharing like wedding planning. Or there's actually another, and I'm going to use another example, Teeny. This girl, she does cooking videos. She was on Gordon Ramsay's show, and she's like this massive YouTube, TikTok channel. And it was interesting for me to see when she was doing the wedding planning and when she was choosing the dress and that kind of stuff. So in my opinion, it's okay to not necessarily stick to one niche, especially if you're an influencer, because you have so many things going on. So it's like, if somebody unfollows, they weren't meant to be there in the first place. Well, considering that I didn't go to college, I kind of had no choice but to make the business work. Because originally I was a straight A student. I probably could have gotten into, the Oxford or whatever school in London or USA. And then my parents, who are not the typical parents, I guess, my dad especially, he was like, figure out the business world. Like, you're already in network marketing. Why would you want to get in debt? And, maybe like I would have gotten a scholarship, but he was like, why would you get in debt and then go study something that you may not even end up using? Because the funny thing about my family, so my mom has a degree in finance, which she really is not that good at math. I don't know how she got that. So we always joke with her about it. And, she doesn't have her own business. Well, she kind of has her own business now, but she doesn't use that degree in her life anymore. And then my dad, he only has a high school diploma, and then he has a business with mom together. So that was like, okay, so I don't really need a degree. And especially for me, like, my dream was to become a fashion designer. So I was like, if I'm going to go and study that, like, and these days, I don't even think I need to study that. I can probably take some courses, learn how to, sew and design and, that kind of stuff. So my motivation was, I don't want to go to college, and I didn't want to get into debt. And, I just kind of had no choice. I was like, I want to make this work. And part of me was like, I was like, I just want to prove everybody wrong, because all of my teachers were like, are you crazy for doing this? Why are you like not using your diploma? Why don't you go to school? And especially my grandpa, he was always very supportive, but he told me one thing. He's like, oh, like, you should go to college. And for the first year of me being in business, he was like, oh, there's this college. You can go to Denmark. You can go to this country. And I was like, Grandpa, I'll be fine. And then when he realized, he's like, once I started traveling and making some money, he was like, okay, so you're good. Like, I'm not going to send you anything anymore. So it was just I kind of didn't have a choice, even though I did. But I was like, I just want to make this work and prove all the haters wrong, and kind of give, excuse my French, like the FU bomb. Like, I figured it out without a degree, because what I wanted to study, like, I don't think I need a degree. Like, I never wanted to become a doctor. I never wanted to become a lawyer. And then, like, especially once I started seeing some initial results, it's kind of like a dopamine hit, and you kind of become addicted to it. You're like, oh, so I got my first customer. So if you get one, like the first network marketing commission I made was $75, and I think I was still in high school. I think I was 18 years old, and I was so excited. I was like, Mom, I made $75. Like I covered my monthly, membership and my monthly, products that I was getting. And then I was like, if I made that, then it just means that I can make more. So I'm kind of lucky because I didn't get a lot of haters, but I did get some throughout the industry. And especially these days, I feel like it's very prominent with TikTok. I know TikTok people, they're kind of ruthless. If your video goes viral, there's always going to be somebody. And it's always user 200, 1000, like somebody without a picture or with a fake picture who lives, a sad life within their sad little world. Originally, I was offended. Like actually, one of my haters, and it's kind of sad for that person. It was actually my classmate who made fun of me on my Facebook ad. So it was 2016, I think, when I started running Facebook ads. And I got a comment from two of my class. It was one classmate, they like tagged each other. And then I was just like, it was really sad because like we were, decent friends. Like they never really made fun of me or anything like this. And I was like, that's kind of crappy. So I felt bad, and I was like, well, I just need to do more personal development, develop more thick skin. I feel like that's what you need in business in the first place. Like you really have to, like be ready and like be resilient to, take on anything. So I know like it's really hard, especially when it's like just so much like hateful comments, but I learned to kind of like look past them, because I'm like, it says more about that person than it says about me. I'm like, if they have the time to sit here and hate on me, I'm like, I'm doing fine. I'm like, and a lot of the times, like I have this one girl that I follow. She never deletes hateful comments. She like replies to them in a fun way, and she just starts mocking them back. Yeah. So that's like one way to cope. I'll add one more thing. Their opinions, like that's one lesson I learned through network marketing with haters. Their comments or opinions don't pay your bills.